What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Moon is Flat podcast. I'm your host, Paul Stacy, here with special guest Johnny Couchy, and today we're going to be talking about all of your favorite conspiracy theories, starting with pyramids. So my questions as far as pyramids go: when were they built, and how were they built? And does your take defy conventional wisdom?
Well, you're going to find out, yeah. My take on the pyramids are kind of an enigma within, like, the general people who study, like, archaeology. Now, granted, Egyptologists, which are people who study things in Egypt, such as the pyramids, and the history of people in Egypt, they'll say, certain pyramids are built, like, within the 4th dynasty was, like, the greatest part of the Egyptian history. But the problem is they have found, like, tunnels and caves where they have, like pots and things that are carved out of stone to precision within the millionths of, like, an inch, or thousands of an inch, which we can't even do with stone. Making pots out of stone, like, we can't machine, because that's how these would have been made. So they know they put a date on things because they want to put a date on different things. But at least my opinion regarding the pyramids is that they were probably built sometime sometime before the flood, or maybe just after, during say around the time of Abraham they were put together.
Okay.
But
so if
they aren't put together how you think, like a bunch of blocks. They put a bunch of rubble in the middle, in the areas that they wanted you to walk through into them, like the tunnels, or the areas, the outside are all blocked up on top of the rubble. So it made it a lot easier for me to build.
So you mentioned that they might have been built before the flood. How does that work? That means they survived the flood.
It means they did,
How on earth could they have done that? Did they just chill there?
Well, a lot of things were destroyed in the flood, which is why, some think, for example, the Sphinx is heavily eroded, which the Sphinx, many believe, is much older than the pyramids. So I put it within a range of anywhere from just before the flood to just after.
Sure. And then, more importantly than when, how were they built?
I believe, as they've found out now, that they were built up with rubble at first, and then they were built up with the limestone on top of each other to build up to the top from the area.
Right, but don't the blocks, like individual blocks, how much do they weigh?
A lot. It takes a lot to move them, but I believe,
Do you think people could have done that without machines?
If you have enough people to do something, you can do something. I think the biggest thing that people struggle with probably is the granite. The granite stones that came from the Aswan Quarry, which is like 80 miles away.
How far away?
Like 80 miles.
80 miles.
They would have had to float them down the...
So they're floating
river.
Rocks,
right,
that are too big to lift to build a pyramid.
Yep. So they obviously had different ways of doing things than we are even used to.
All right. Question number 2, conspiracy theory number 2. What is Area 51, and what's inside it?
Oh, Area 51. That is just another one of, like, their military bases. There's plenty of military bases around. To be honest, they've moved a lot of, like, it was their research and development for when they would find different things, either in ancient technology, believe it or not. Believe it or not, they found many things in ancient technology, or since man has been advancing in technology, they've run into more and more of different different technology and
Would that be some interplanetary
right,
technology?
interdimensional beings. I mean, if you look, it was in the late 1890s in Texas. There was a crash of something, an unidentified flying object crash, and ever since then it's been ramping up more and more. World War II, they had the Foo Fighters, which were lots of unidentified flying objects that would fly around when bombers were going through. They'd look and see these glowing objects, and they'd fly between the formations, and they're like, "Oh, those are the Foo Fighters." The Germans thought it was the Americans. The Americans thought it was the Germans, and then after the war, they realized they're like, "Huh." And then, you get to the Roswell crash. I can't remember the exact year on that, but that was a big deal, which kind of set off. Groom Lake wasn't Area 51. The area was originally called Groom Lake Airfield for testing, and after that they got things together, and they decided to make that their main testing facility. But now they got so many more. But
So do you think there is extraterrestrial life in Area 51 right now?
well, you see, I don't call them extraterrestrials.
Well, that just means outside of Earth.
They're interdimensional. Interdimensional beings.
Sure.
Is my opinion on them anyway.
So do you think there are interdimensional beings in Area 51 right now, just like in some storage facility?
Maybe not even in storage. Sometimes they're actually working with the government.
What are they up to?
Well, here's the thing that what I've heard and understand from these interdimensional beings is that oftentimes the government even says in their documents regarding them that you can't really trust them with anything they say.
So how do we communicate with them?
Well, you can talk with them.
Just like in English?
They're interdimensional beings.
So
in my opinion, they're fallen angels.
Okay.
So they can communicate telepathically, and that's just the form that they're taking right now.
And the form that they're taking, so if I was going to look at an interdimensional being, would it look like a human, or like a shaky human, or like an invisible human?
No, well, I mean, they could take on the form of looking like a human, but that's just the form they decided to present themselves to the government.
How do we know they're not just kids playing pranks and showing up to Area 51 saying, "Oh, I'm an interdimensional being"?
Well, I guess without personal experience, you can't know. But at least from my understanding, from even recent events that people have had in Brazil, and even if you remember in Las Vegas, that people have had encounters with different beings after spaceships have crashed or whatever, and there's been a whole cover-ups if you remember Las Vegas.
You heard it here first. Thirdly, the moon landing. Do you believe that was faked?
Oh no, it was real. But
do you believe the footage we have is of the moon landing? Was that a recreation?
They may have done a recreation of that, but I believe the moon landing was real, and there's just a lot of things that we really don't know once you start heading to outer space regarding the magnetic field's effect on humans once they start leaving that, and just what really lies out there. But what I do know is that it has come out and from former astronauts of flying up there, and there'll be objects all the time buzzing by their spaceships, and they're doing stuff. And I know, I can't remember which astronaut specifically, but during one of the Apollo missions, they were watching these objects fall and go out to the moon and come back with them.
Wait, so just so I'm clear, while the Apollo missions were happening, there were objects following them to the moon and back.
Yep.
Right. Do we have video evidence or any kind of evidence of that, or just?
Well, there's been some audio
eyewitness
edits,
reports?
and then some of the former astronauts have admitted that you like see stuff, but it's not like like one of them said that when he was on the mission, like they were told that they couldn't, if they saw anything, like to say a code word, but not to say anything else about it. And that code word was said.
What was the code? Do you know it?
I can't remember. But they've talked about it later. Some of them were getting older, and some of the stuff they've seen.
So yeah, interesting. Well, moving on. There was a conversation I had earlier with one of my buddies, and he said the words 420, and he acted like I should know what that meant, but I actually had no idea. And so I decided to save it till now, and I wanted to talk with you, Johnny, about what 420 is.
Well, so 420.
Why should I know about
it? Do you remember his reference to Snoop Dogg?
I do remember that.
Okay, so there is now it's a recreational substance from a plant with lots of leaves that day is about.
So is it like...
That's what it's about.
It's just drugs?
Yeah. It's about marijuana. 420.
All right.
It's a reference. I don't know why.
There you have it, folks. Don't do 420. So, the assassination of Kennedy has been steeped in controversy ever since.
Which one?
Well, I assumed President, John F. Kennedy.
Yeah,
that's his name.
Yeah, but
John
his
F.
brother
Kennedy.
was also murdered. And then JFK Jr. also crashed in a plane.
How'd that happen?
They just crashed. I can't remember how.
So, President John F. Kennedy, while he was driving along with his wife, who ducked, how do you feel about that whole situation?
Well, I don't think we can really know the entire situation behind his death, but I do know that there were elements within our government's agencies that didn't like his plans and outlook regarding how our military operated and how our intelligence agencies were operating, and they wanted to retain power, and they've managed to still remain in power. And
Do you believe it was an inside job, honestly?
Well, they knew about Lee Harvey Oswald. They knew about him. I know sometimes they'll let things happen. Otherwise, the other theory is that there was a second shooter over the hill in front of the car who shot and killed him. But
So what evidence is there to support the second shooter theory?
I guess a lot of people talk about how at the back of the head, how his back of his head blew out instead of the front, but I don't know ballistic. But
That sound you hear is me getting a text.
yes.
All right, moving on. So we're going to kind of rapid fire through these. Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Mothman, dinosaurs. Are any of them still living or ever were?
So I believe maybe some of the water dinosaurs are still alive. There's been plenty of sightings around the world of different things, and there might be some actually land dinosaurs in the middle of like the African jungle in Congo. There's kind of like a jungle out there, and it's a pretty savage place. Regarding kind of the rest and like dinosaurs, I feel like, some people say, oh, dinosaurs are fake, especially, if you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, which I don't know if it's entirely 6,000 years old, but I feel like the dinosaurs were alive within that time. So my theory on dinosaurs is that many of them were actually what you call Nephilim, or the children of the fallen angels. Not all of them, just many were.
Which ones?
Specifically.
Like, we talking T-Rex, or we talking like...
possibly T-Rex. It's possible some of the more carnivorous ones were, but maybe perhaps some of the non-carnivorous were as well. but
All right.
but
So-
they're in that.
Do you believe, just yes or no question, do you believe there is a prehistoric, still living, aquatic dinosaur type of animal in the Loch Ness Lake?
I'm gonna say yes.
Can I say yes? Okay. Do you believe there are still dinosaurs in the traditional sense living today?
Yeah.
Do you believe, have you heard of Mothman?
Yes.
Do you believe Mothman is living today?
No, not to Mothman.
Okay. Do you believe he ever was living? I didn't write it down.
Maybe. I don't know. I believe in a lot of, I mean, maybe not specifically Mothman, but like a lot of different, I don't know, you could call them mythical beings. I mean,
Can you just run through a list of?
all right, so some of them I believe are children of the fallen angels or not. So, for example, the Birdman, you can look these up, Dogmen, which are kind of like werewolves. Bigfoot, I believe, is real. Let's see.
So just
There's
real
a
quick
lot.
with Bigfoot,
Like lizard people.
how do you deal with the fact that Bigfoot hasn't been caught on trail cam, and there's so many trail cams throughout the United States and the world, but mostly in the United States,
I feel like they're pretty.
that he hasn't been caught on camera?
The thing is, like, if these things are intelligent, they're pretty good, and then they'll know about technology and they'll know about things and
Right, but like
be able to hide
they're
themselves.
camouflaged. Like I've probably been caught on trail cam just wandering through the woods.
Yeah, they're also
they're hard to spot.
Yeah. That's what my opinion.
And like
on
dash
that.
cams and everything, they're everywhere. So, or how come we don't have a body of a Bigfoot that has died?
Right, but they could just bury their own. I mean,
Right, but if
they're
they get
quite
hit by a car,
sophisticated.
Your own is probably not going to rush out,
Yeah,
grab you, and bring
but
you back.
you're assuming that they'll get hit by a car.
Why would they not? People get hit by cars. Do you think they would be
Well,
quicker and smarter than humans?
I guess that's something to find out.
If they're smarter than humans, how come they don't have electric cars
Well, I feel
or
like
electricity, or
my opinion on
Any of
that is
these
that the
advancements.
the Lord has set up this time he set up man as dominion over nature.
So you think
Man.
Bigfoot squarely
So-
fits inside of nature, even though it could be? Do you think it's more intelligent than us?
I'm not more intelligent, but definitely intelligent.
Okay, like intelligent, like a pig, like a
Like a
like a goldfish?
like a human, like a human, but
Do you think big feet can disguise themselves as human?
no. But I believe there are sort of shape shifting types out there, but no.
All right. And I think that's it for that. Do you believe? Moving on to the Illuminati, do you believe there's a small group of human beings or creatures that control the world
Well,
that most of us will never ever know about?
like there might be some people that we won't know about, but there is definitely a large group of people. Like if you look at the World Economic Forum, who have a plan and vision for how they want the world to be, where you have 15-minute cities, so there's no cars and you can walk anywhere in 15 minutes for anything you want. And they have their own ideas about how much carbon emissions they want and whatnot. So you certainly have
Sounds dystopian.
Yeah, you certainly have those dystopian groups that are now not hiding.
Is
but-
that like Vanguard, BlackRock?
Yeah, they're part of that whole group. So you have that. So there definitely is an agenda that is well known now and it's public regarding those things. Regarding like things in secret, one thing I've heard from somebody is that anything you see left on the surface now is just scraps because everyone else is underground.
Like physically underground?
Underground and underground cities and bases.
Do you believe that?
I'd probably have to agree.
You think so? How far down are these underground cities?
Well, I feel like the structure of the Earth isn't really well understood.
I would agree with that. I don't think the structure of the Earth is well understood.
Regarding what is underground. And I mean, the Bible tells us about stuff being released, and there are stories and also prophecies in different cultures around the world regarding things underneath the ground and things that will be released on, the Day of Judgment and whatnot. And I feel like that there's a lot to find under there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're meant to find it?
Well, the Bible says that, on the Day of Judgments they will hide in caves in the ground and ask for the rocks and the mountains to fall on them to escape, he who sits on the throne. So we're probably not meant to go underground, even though men are trying to hide.
You said people already have.
Right, but they're trying to hide themselves from what they know is coming because, believe it or not, they can see.
So is that why you see Zuckerberg building bunkers and other things like that?
Right, they're trying.
So this isn't just a bunker though; it's like an entire underground civilization.
Oh yeah, all around the world. Yep. In fact, there's countries like Russia, for example. They have bunkers to protect their citizens that they want their citizens to go into in case of a war. Mm-hmm. But there's countries that are open about that the U.S. just won't be regarding their stuff.
Speaking of Russians, the Russian government and everything, weather modifications, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, so weather is being modified. I think the biggest thing people are freaked out now is chemtrails. But the thing with that is, so everybody, you can learn about cloud seeding. So what they do is they take chemicals, so like silver iodide, to basically make it so water molecules in the air like to collect around that, so you get more water. But the thing is, that's not on every plane. That's on certain planes because, frankly, it's basically like they're burning up a firecracker, or what do they call those? Sparkler. It's like they're burning up a sparkler. Like it's a long tube that you burn up to put out the smoke of the silver iodide to create more water vapor. Regarding chemtrails, they're not spraying anything, but what happens is there's this thing called contrails. And so at certain levels in the atmosphere, if you were to create a disturbance, it turns into a pressure wake, which would cause a lot of condensation, and which is a collection. Condensation is the collection of the water, so where it's more visible. Well, on that level of the atmosphere, it causes condensation, which kind of creates a pressure wave, but also a chain reaction to create clouds. Sometimes that can actually cover the entire sky. And so, believe it or not,
is that from one plane?
Yeah, not one plane, but what their agenda with that is, and there is an agenda, is to have those planes fly at certain levels that they know where during that day it'll cause more cloud cover, so they can cool things down because the Earth is heating up. But so that's one thing they like to do, and they are also, though, to be honest, there are certain states like California that are allowing different chemicals to be tested and sprayed over the states. True, but not in every plane. They have research and development plans that they have to do it.
Sure.
So.
All right, I got 3 more things to hit on really quick, and then I think we'll be done. So, time travel. Do you believe it's possible? And how would we do it? Would it be interdimensionally?
Let's see. Time travel. I think you can be able to see things that happened in the past, but I don't think time travel is necessarily possible.
Okay. How would we be able to see things in the past?
Oh, remote viewing. We'll have to talk about that later.
What, can we talk about that now?
Oh, it'll take a little bit. So remote viewing...
Just hit the points.
Remote viewing is a process to where just an individual, without using any technology, can basically focus and view things that are separate from where they are. It's kind of what...
Is it like a drug dream?
No, it's like a spiritual thing. It's a real thing where you can, if you want somebody, you know where an object is, but you don't want... You know what the specific object is, and you want to see if they know what it is, but they have never seen it and don't you can just be like, so what's around like over in this area in this specific like box, like around the corner of that third building over there, and you know what's there.
Is it like
And they can see what object is there.
Wait, I'm so Johnny, if I wanted you to be able to see from my perspective how I scored a touchdown, was that something that you would be able to do?
If you're a good remote viewer, yeah, you could be like, okay, like you wouldn't say like I caught a touchdown, like you could say, like on this football field on this day at this time, what happened.
People could just. So why don't they do that for the pyramids? If they can.
Well,
if they can do it, why don't they actually use it for something useful other than just
the problem is
manifesting a Ferrari?
Here's the thing: so they could also look and see things into the future, and after a certain date, which I believe is this year, 2024, they have been unable to see anything that happens in the future. They were using it for years.
So who is they? The
government.
Viewers. The government.
They hire people to be remote viewers to see stuff.
How do you apply?
I don't know. You
just like post online about it.
Almost anybody can do
like,
it. Almost anybody can do it, but
you want to see if you can do it?
no. Well, almost anybody can, but
well, why don't you?
It's not something I want to do. I just don't feel like it's something I should be doing.
I tend to agree. All right. So do you know what the Templar Treasure is from National Treasure?
Knights
Not
Templar,
National Guard. Yeah. From National Treasure, the Templar Treasure. Do you believe it still exists? Do you believe it ever existed? And where is it?
I don't know if it ever existed. I feel like people often hold on to things of the past, especially like relics and whatnot, and it doesn't really concern me too much regarding relics. Interesting thing regarding relics is that, the Jewish people are trying to create the third temple again, and regarding like all the special relics that they had, like different like censers or menorahs, or they have so many different things in the way they would do stuff, and all these little trinkets that they would need to do it correctly. The Jewish people separately, but yet all together, have kept those things, and it's very interesting.
That actually is a fantastic transition into my last talking point of the day, the Ark of the Covenant. Do we still think it exists?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Well, interesting thing is, so back in the day, like one thing like remote viewers would do, like one of the first things they would always ask them to remote view, and they would always do, was the Ark of the Covenant. And so for a while it was in this cave. They would remote view it, and now it's in a shipping container somewhere in the desert.
Which desert do we know?
I don't know.
Just
yeah.
Like that's it? It's
yeah.
just in a
So somebody, I'm not sure who, but somebody kept it safe and knew where it was, and now it's been taken out. And it might be a preparation for the third temple, but I don't know.
So, to the best of your knowledge, from these remote viewer guys, it's still in a shipping crate in a desert.
Yeah. So, in like
all
a
you geoguessers out there,
military type setting,
scour the desert and find us the Ark of the Covenant. What's it say? Oh, okay. Well, I guess we have a little bit of time, so we're going to talk about who is Johnny Couchy.
Okay.
That one always stumps people. They have no idea who Johnny Couchy is.
No, I am. I got. Well, I'm not a millennial because I was born before or after 2000. So,
Same.
College dropout.
Nice.
No, and you just want to know more things about me.
Who does Johnny Couchy want to be?
It's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that.
Welcome to the
Well,
podcast.
for a while I wanted to be a weather person, but I think it was more about the money than weather, and now I can put it a different direction, so I don't know.
What direction is that?
Well, I mean, for now, I'm going to be working at, Bible camp, like Beauty Bible Camp, and then I guess we'll see where things go from there. I might go back to college for building engines or something. Believe it or not, there's not much money in that.
Well, I think if you find the right,
If
not
you,
a practice, the right garage, I think.
if you're good enough, certainly, like, you can make money.
Well, I mean,
but-
you have no formal training. You just freehand everything pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So-
No, I'd have to go to college.
so you have
for that,
potential.
so. Yep.
You could be the greatest engine builder of all time. Who are the greatest engine builders of all time?
I mean, it depends. A lot of guys who become really well known have turned into brands. So like Roush, Mickey Thompson was kind of Edelbrock, like is early days, but
Yeah.
they just manufactured aftermarket, which is like 1920s, like flathead Fords. Ooh, need aftermarket. They got into that. So.
Well, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Let me think. I think that would be it for now.
All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching and listening to and experiencing The Moon is Flat!